it would be not as pretty as you think it might be.
Well, you tell me the whole story.
At least the one you want known.
I was ugly.
We know better than that.
I mean, my personality was not pleasing,
Oh, okay.
and I'm ashamed now.
Well, tell us how you met him. It's August the 13th, 2011. Today. So now you're going to tell us.
I can't remember, but I think it was the end of 1944 or sometime in. When did you ship out overseas the first time? Not the second time.
I can't remember.
Or you just didn't go the second time. You thought you was going. But it was. I think it was the end of the latter part of 1944 that Clarence and I met. I was living at that time in Marietta, Georgia, at my brother's home, and rooming with a girlfriend that was also my brother's niece by marriage. His wife's sister had died and left Virginia and 3 siblings without either parents. Their father had already died. So my sister-in-law, Nellie, sort of took over her sister's children, and Virginia was 1 year younger than me, but she and I rode up together, and we were friends. And we shared the same room and worked in the same place in Marietta in a defense plant. But Virginia was an avid swimmer, and she had worked at a swimming place, and I had never swam, and I was afraid to swim. And I didn't even want to go swimming. We was leaving my brother's home. We told him we was going to Atlanta to see a movie in Atlanta that I had never been to that movie place. It was like you could see the stars and the moons and everything. And she told me she'd been there, and she told me what it was like, and I wanted to see it. And we told my brother where we was going, and back in those days, that's been over 60 years ago, and during World War II, you didn't venture out with so many soldiers out on the roads and on the highways and in the towns of Atlanta without somebody knowing where you was going. You had to be careful. And my mother had always taught me to not be a pickup. So Virginia argued with me to not go to the movie, but to go to swimming. We neither one had a swimming suit. And she said, I told her we didn't bring a swimming suit, we couldn't go. Oh yes, but they rent them. They rent them here, and they're sterile. You don't need to worry about them. They have to pass government inspection. She knowed I was afraid of wearing somebody else's bathing suit. And she says, you get a clean one, and you'll get one to fit you. Well, after I listened and went whether or not that I wanted to, but I made up my mind I wasn't going in because I don't swim. And when I got in my bathing suit, I was going to sit on the side and read a book while she swam. I'd watch her and other people swim, and they had a dividing area where the adults and children was divided. And I sat there with my feet in the water and a bathing suit on, and what I had discovered, the bathing suit that I had rented had a hole in the seat. And I was scared to move. And so all of a sudden this fella swims up, sees me sitting on there by myself with a book in my hand, and he comes swimming up, and then he came walking up, and he wanted to know if why wasn't I in the water? Did I know how to swim, or was I afraid of the water? And I said, I don't swim. Well, I'll teach you, he said. And I said, no, you won't. And I said, I'm not wanting to learn how to swim. I'm here just to watch my friend and read my book. And I was not going to talk to him. He was very persistent. Well, my girlfriend was out on the highest diving board, and she spotted this happening. She thought she better come to rescue her friends, so she come running she dove off and she swam up. And just as she got there, he was still trying to coach, let me teach you, you won't drown, I'll show you how to swim. She walks on up, because she was in the shallow part now, she walked on up, and she said to him, you can teach me. And I thought, boy, I don't know if he can swim as good as you can, but I think you teach him a few things. But anyway, she came to the rescue, and I thought, well, she's engaged but to another sailor, but I thought, that's okay, let her talk to him. And then I got worried. My brother and I had a talk, and he thought we was going to this moving place in Atlanta, and here we are in a swimming pool at Grants Park. We went to Grants Park instead. What if something had happened here? What if, who knows what could happen? And here we've lied to where we're going. And I started talking to Virginia when she was talking too much to him. I thought she's two-timing her man that she's engaged to, and I thought, well, I better rescue her. So I said, Virginia, I think we better go. She said, well, we just got here. And I had my hair all fixed the day before at the beauty shop, and I wasn't getting in the water to wet it down. And she thought I was real serious, so she thought she'd fix me. So she throws water all over my hair, and it got me really mad. So then I had to get up with a hole in the seat of my swimsuit. And I had to go. I says, well, I'm leaving. And I says, Virginia, you'd better go too. I says, Clifford's going to be mad at both of us, and you know he'll take it out on me. So I says, you better come on with me, because we're not supposed to be here. And she says, oh, you old party pooper. She says, we just got here, and we could have a lot of fun. You want to go? And so I just left her and went on in to get dressed. She finally sauntered alone in, and she thought she'd better, or my brother would get on to her and me both. So she come. Well, we ain't got there yet. We just got dressed.
Oh, yeah.
So I was drying my hair, and I looked in my purse, and I had 2 little red ribbons. And I put my hair like a little girl in little pigtails, because it was done, all the hair setting was wasted. It was gone. And my hair was fine and straight. And so what Clarence had looked at before, he didn't see the same girl, but he come up again when I was dressed, sitting in the sun to get my hair dry. She comes out from the fussing at me, and she was using some foul language at me. And then she says, I think she's going. I guess I'm going to have to go, she said to Clarence. And we started toward the streetcar corner. Clarence says, well, why don't you girls show me how to get back to the Greyhound bus station? And I turned to him and I said, how did you get out here? He says, my friends brought me out here. I says, well, where are they at? He says, well, they just dropped me off. They don't stay with you. We just on a leave from the camp, and everybody has to be concerned about their own getting where they're going, and I got to get back to the Greyhound bus station, so I'll know how to get back. I got to be back at a certain time. And he says, I got to make sure I get back or I'll be AWOL. And I said, well, that's kind of good friends you got that would drop you off and not come back and pick you up. And I said, you should have. Virginia turned to me and she says, well, there ain't nothing. It's a public bus that we're riding, and it can take us back. And on the way, there was a little canoe riding around on the water, and Clarence began to talk to us girls, wanting us to ride a canoe. And I said, well, I don't know how to swim, and the canoe can turn over. And I was afraid to get in the canoe, but he talked me, no, it won't turn over. And Virginia begged me, and before I go to the bus, catch the streetcar, they wanted me to take a round on that. Well, we took a round, and I come up, there was another canoe with 7 sailors in it. Them 7 sailors kept bumping our canoe, and I was sure it was going to turn over. So I said to Clarence, didn't know him, but I thought, well, I'll beg him. I says, would you please take me up to the shore area so I can get out? I said, I don't swim, and I don't want to be in this canoe and be turned over. And he did. He took me up to the area, and so we got out, and I says, I think we better head for the streetcar. So we started, and Virginia was just talking to Clarence, and I couldn't imagine why she kept getting more drawn to him. And I thought, well, he sounds like a Yankee to me. And I thought, well, I don't know why she wants to talk to this stranger. She's got a boyfriend she's engaged to, and I was getting disgusted with her. So I walked on ahead of them, and I got to the streetcar where they pick up before she did, and I looked back to see where they were. When this bus stopped for me, I looked back to see where they were. They were back behind, getting a honky from a honky wagon, and they cut.
What's a honky?
Huh? A honky is an ice cream bar on a stick.
Oh, okay.
The honky is in the wagon that the guy goes around with a honk, honk, honk to get your attention.
Oh.
And they call it a honky wagon. So when the streetcar driver saw me look back and seeing them start running, he says, are they coming? And I says, it looks like they are. Well, that was during the days of segregation in Georgia. And this was Atlanta, Georgia, Grants Park. So it turns out that the streetcar was full except for the back end. There was 2 seats back there that was empty. They didn't have enough blacks to fill them all up. And Clarence saw me holding a strap, holding overhead to stand when he would take off. And he says, well, there's empty seats back here. I said, go ahead. Go ahead. And I was going to stand where I was at.
I didn't understand about segregation. They had that separation there when you moved,
So he caught on quick, and he decided, no, I'm in the South, and they're segregated here. They're not. She's not going back. I better not go back. I figure he thought. So he hands me an ice cream honky, a bar, and I didn't really want it. I wanted to be thrown in his face. But I didn't. I wasn't that rude. But I wasn't being kind to him. And he noticed it. So when we get to the end of this streetcar, we had to take a transfer to go to Marietta. At that corner, we was only 2 blocks from the Greyhound bus station. And when we got off of this streetcar, I said to him, you see the Greyhound dog over there? That's where you go. And I says, and you catch your bus back to Fort Benning. The funny thing was, I had been living down near Fort Benning in Columbus, Georgia, up till 2 weeks before this particular weekend. I had just changed jobs. I was a telephone operator down in Columbus, and I was a defense worker up here where my brother worked and where Virginia worked. I just took the job. And Virginia told him that my aunt lived in Columbus and that I had to go back. She was telling him all about me. I thought she was talking for her own benefit. And she gave him my name and a phone number. Telephones wasn't wasn't plentiful back then. And my brother didn't have a phone, but the neighbors did. She gave him the neighbor's telephone number and my name and what time I get home from work. And she told him that I was brought up strict. That the reason I was acting the way I was, that my mama had taught me not to talk to strangers. And that she thought it was a little bit odd, but see, she didn't have a mother to bring her up. So she had an aunt and an uncle that was helping her, which was my brother. And so anyway, we get sat down, we checked, it was 30 minutes before our streetcar left for Marietta. And Virginia says, we got time to go over with him to the Greyhound bus station. I says, I think he's capable of walking over there. And I says, I don't think we need to go with him. But she says, well, I'm going with him. And I thought, okay. But you're playing with fire, girl. This is a stranger. You don't know him. That was all I was thinking. I hope he don't entice you away. And I go back and have to tell my brother I lost you. So it turns out that no more than they had turned to walk the other way, they didn't get a half a block till 7 sailors sat down on the same streetcar seat that I was sitting on. It's a bench out on the street. And I looked at them and I could have swore there's the same 7 that was in the canoe boat. And they wanted to know what my name was, and they was all acting like they're interested in me. And all of a sudden I thought, 1 soldier's safer than 7 sailors. And I thought, I'm in more danger than Jenny is. So I took off and I started walking behind them. I didn't say a word to them sailors. I wasn't even going to give them my name. I wasn't going to say nothing. So they thought I was snooty and they didn't follow me. I kept listening. I thought, oh, because you pick up the paper in the wartime and you've seen all these things happen in Atlanta with young girls and servicemen. So I was very fortunate that they didn't follow me. And so I just kept walking, but I didn't want to catch up with them, and I made sure I didn't. And I walked slow, and they went on in and checked to see how long the next bus for Columbus. He had 3 hours to wait. We had 30 minutes. And when he met me, he was coming back out, him in Virginia, as I was coming into the terminal. And it turns out that he just pulls an address envelope out of his pocket. He says to me, if you're concerned about me, you want to know about me, you write to these people and they'll tell you all about me. Well, I'd been so rude, like, not wanting him to know I wasn't interested in him, that I thought, well, I guess I don't have to let him know I'm not going to write them, but I'll just stick it in my purse. I don't know why I stuck it in my purse, can't figure it out. But I looked at it and I seen it said Fort Wayne, Indiana, Elizabeth Street. And I said, who are these people? He says, it's my parents. And I thought to myself, well, what parent wouldn't say something good about their kid? And that don't give me any leeway to talk to you. And I don't know you or them either. So I just put it in my purse and forgot it. And so as we turned, she was saying to him he had time to go to Marietta and back for his bus, because it only takes about half an hour to get out on this line, and the streetcar makes a U-turn just like, and then it comes back, and the bus conductor takes up fare going and coming. So I got on the streetcar first going to Marietta, thinking he was talking to her all this time, and I thought that they'd sit together. The streetcar was empty when we got on it, and I was the first one on. And I sat down, and lo and behold, what did he do? He come sit right beside of me. And I thought, oh no. And I thought, well, you're not talking to me. I'm looking out the window, and I'm not going to look at you. And I didn't look at him. And he sat there, and he bragged about Fort Wayne, all the colleges in Fort Wayne, and that someday when he got married and had children, that his children could live at home and go to college right there in Fort Wayne. And
trying to get a conversation.
He was just yakking, and I thought, well, you ain't going to have no kids by me. You're talking to the wrong girl, lady. Yes, sir. But I didn't say it. I just kept looking out the window and thinking, how corny this northerner is. And I thought, well, I never heard anybody talk like this. And so I just kept looking, and finally my girlfriend, she's trying to be friendly with him. She sat on the seat in front. She turned around and she said, ask him if he had a cigarette. I looked at her like she was out of her head, because she didn't smoke and I didn't smoke. And I couldn't figure out why she was asking him for a cigarette. It was just to shock me, I think. And I said, Virginia, you don't smoke. And Clarence told her he didn't smoke. And he says, no, I don't smoke. So Virginia, I think, was letting me think this guy's clean and he's all right, but I don't know what she was trying to do. But she got us together, and she about killed us later in breaking us up. But anyway, we got to halfway out to Marietta from Atlanta, and the conductor come by to get our money. And Clarence was going to pay my fee, and I said, no, I'll pay my own, because I know what soldiers don't have much money. My brothers are in the Army, and I said, you're going to be going right back you're going right back to Atlanta just as quick as this makes the horseshoe turn. And I says, you're going to be having to pay your fare again on the way back. I was letting him know if he didn't have enough money, he better be thinking about it. So it turns out all the way while we was going, the conductor picked up people at every stop, and the streetcar was loaded, and the path down the aisle was loaded with straps. Then back then they had straps from the ceiling, and they was holding, and the room was full. And they was calling out. The conductor called out the next stop, all the way down. So when I heard my stop being called out, I said to Clarence, I have to get out. So I stood up. He stood up, and the first thing he said right out loud, well, are you going to kiss me goodbye? And I thought, I didn't even know who you are. You going to kiss me? I don't think so. I didn't kiss him. And my face was streaming with tears, and my face was red as a beet. Because everybody was looking at me because they heard him. And I thought, oh, Jenny has embarrassed me to tears. She brought this guy with us out here, and here I am. And embarrassed to death, so she would have been the loud one going and insisting that I go swimming, and when I didn't want to. And then now, I get off the streetcar, and I'm a-crying. And she says, what's the matter? I said, what's the matter? I said, you just embarrassed me to tears. I said, just wait till I get out to my brother's and tell him what you've done to me. And she said, well, we'll walk. That's a 2-mile walk. She's wanting me to cool down before we got there so I wouldn't tell my brother nothing. We normally would have caught another bus and got out there, but she wanted to walk. So we walked. But anyway, I thought that was the end of Clarence. The next day when I got off of work, my neighbor yells my name, Jettery, a phone call, long distance. Well, I thought it was Mom and Daddy or somebody, my sister down in Commerce. So turns out when I get there and I heard that northern brogue, I thought, that's that same voice. That's that Yankee. And I said to him, how did you get my neighbor's phone number? How did you get my name? He said, your friend gave it to me. She was real kind. So I don't know why he didn't get interested in her instead of me. I couldn't figure it out. So it was a rough meeting that Clarence had. And then I seemed to be running all the time, even on his letters. He used to write. He shipped out for overseas. And that was right soon. But he wanted to meet me before, on a date. He wanted to have a date with me before he left. So Jenny had told him that I was going to be coming back to my aunt's to get my clothes. A lot of my stuff was still down there to bring back. So he called every day for 2 weeks till he shipped out. He didn't miss a day. And he finally got a date. I decided, well, I don't remember what he looked like. I guess I'll look at him. But I'm not interested in him, I'm sure. So anyway, I got down to my aunt's, and I never told her that I had an appointment to meet somebody that evening. I told her I was going right back, which I was going to go back that night to Marietta. But it turns out that before I met Clarence, at the given time that we was to meet, a boy that I had double dated, I never dated him, but I dated his friend, and he had shipped out and went to another place. He saw me coming down the street because I went to the bank down there and drawed my money out, and I had more money in the bank in Columbus than I thought I had. So I just went shopping and bought myself a new outfit. And back then, you could put them on right in the store, you know, and wear them out if you paid for it. So I dressed up in this black lace dress and black patent 2-inch heels. And I put on some white gloves, and I had a little hat that I had white flowers in it. I walked down the street, and lo and behold, as soon as I got out there, I heard Cannonball hollered, Jackie. I turned around, he said, what are you doing back in Columbus? I thought you left. I said, I did, but I came back to get my things. And he says, well, I'm so happy to see you. He says, And DJ's not around anymore. So he says, well, you can date me tonight. And I said, oh, I already got another date. He said, what? I says, well, I got an appointment to meet someone tonight. I says, I don't know him too well. And I said, don't write DJ about this, because I was writing DJ. And I didn't want him to break it up. And so he said he wouldn't tell him nothing, but he says, I don't trust this guy if you don't know him very well. Says, you better let me go on the double date with you. I says, well, you got a girlfriend? He got his little book out. He had a lot of names and numbers. And he started calling. He never did get nobody could go out with him. But he wouldn't leave me. He was going to meet this guy. He had to meet this Clarence. So when Clarence came, Clarence thought it was over.